you watched the Summer Games Fest, you will have seen a little game pop up, something that you and I have both been excited for. Lies of P. It got a new trailer, a new release date, and a shadow drop of a demo, which is very exciting because we've seen the game in action, but through trailers, I haven't personally seeked out actual gameplay snippets or anything, because it's been one of those things where I kind of want to go in dark. I don't want to have too much insight into the game. So diving into the demo with no real prior context and experiencing it fresh has been really nice. And let me tell you, this game is it's not Lies of P, it's Lies of Bloodborne, because it's got a lot of that DNA, which is to be expected from a Souls-like. It's got a lot of similarities, outside of even just the aesthetic, which is this dark, dreary. It looks a little bit like London, where I'm moving to.
But this is actually where you're moving to. This is this is the introductory video for everyone who moves to London. Yeah.
But even like I was saying to you before we started recording, even in terms of movements, it's funny how when you play a From Software game, the roll button is circle, but it's also tied to your sprint button, which feels weird. This game's exactly the same. If you want to sprint, you hold circle. If you want to dodge, you push circle. But even in terms of dodging and such, like Bloodborne, when you locked onto an enemy, you don't roll, you sidestep. If you unlock from the enemy, then that circle becomes a roll. So it's got a lot of that, which isn't a bad thing. But it is funny that people who obviously look at From for inspiration, lean heavily into even the control scheme, because it just works. I think picking up this game, not knowing anything about it, and being able to understand the language is a huge plus. Even there, if you saw, I was choosing quote unquote my starting class or my starting gear. A lot of those stats, it's I don't have it in front of me now, but it is the typical vigor and dexterity, just with different names, but you recognize it because you've played other games.
Yes, and I could tell even without looking, it was a light, medium, and heavy weapon, very similar to the options you're given in Bloodborne.
Yes, I don't know in the final game if there will be more than 3, but in the demo it starts out with those 3 options. I don't know to what extent you will be able to tailor a class or a weapon build, for example. Because as an example, I don't know if this game has a magic system. There's nothing that I've seen in the demo that had that. What it does have, which immediately stands out, well, you only learn late in the demo. If you look to the bottom right there, you've got kind of weapon arts. So, okay, so I know this is terrible for audio listeners. Let me just scrub ahead here quickly, just so you can see what I'm talking about. So on the top left here, you'll see there's your health and your stamina, but there's also this blue bar here.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you do attacks, it builds up, and then you can spend those bars on doing special weapon arts, like on the bottom right here. And these are just
so it's not like a resource like mana or
no,
something
no,
like
no.
that.
So that's why I'm I don't know if there will be a magic system, because they've got this other system which you use to do special weapon arts. And from what I can understand, there are a bunch of these throughout the game that you can customize and do. You can tailor your build with different weapon arts. I don't know if you noticed that I sharpened my weapon.
Yeah, I was literally about to ask, what were you doing there? It just looked like you were sharpening your weapon on your arm.
So this bottom right bar over here is your weapon durability. It wears out very quickly, so you need to keep that little weapon sharp.
This sounds like a very interesting mix of mechanics for especially bosses, because if you are building up momentum against a boss, then you have access to the weapon arts, but then you are also dulling your weapon, so you need to find a window to sharpen it. Or?
Yeah, I don't know how. So I've fought one boss in the game, and the weapon sharpness wasn't a concern there, but I don't know. If they'll flesh it out in maybe in later boss fights, your weapon durability goes down way quicker. And that would be it makes me think a little bit of Hollow Knight, where Hollow Knight is the thing of, oh my god, I need to find a gap to heal.
Yes.
Here it would be like, oh my god, I need to find a gap to sharpen my weapon because it takes a little while. And then, last thing, if you saw, I used my arm there. That's got its own separate bar here in the bottom left. So when you start the game, it's literally a punch. But by the end of the demo, but after the first boss, I was given another ability which let me sort of like not grapple, but shoot a line at enemies to do damage from a distance. So that in itself is going to offer, I'm sure, other customization, because I'm sure that arm's going to have different forms or things.
That reminds me a lot of Sekiro.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't have magic, but you have these like other arm abilities that you can choose as like your alternate attack.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just last thing, just off top of mind is level design. It's that same sort of formula of you walk through an area, you find a door, unlock it, all of a sudden there's a shortcut. That's like very obvious soon in the game that'll be a thing throughout. I think as a taste of this game, it feels good. I think there's something a bit off about the movement, but that's not necessarily the game. I think that's just me not being used to it, because this isn't Bloodborne, this isn't Dark Souls, it is its own thing. So I'm not used to the subtle differences in how movement.
I guess you have all these other things reminding you of those games. Yeah. So when one thing is off, it's like feels weird.
It's an unfair thing to like compare this to that. But I mean, if it's taking clear inspiration from it, those comparisons are like it's going to happen. Sorry to say, for better or for worse.
Is there a parry?
There is, but I haven't been able to pull it off, and that's actually tied to a weapon art. So let me get out of this menu here. So the bottom right, you'll see this attack here where I push triangle uses all three bars. That's an attack. This here, it's gone now. But if I hold block and push triangle, it uses one bar, and that is a parry, which, if I understand correctly, if I pull it off, I'll counter attack with like a very strong attack.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not so that's quite different from like a Bloodborne and a Sekiro, where I mean in Bloodborne
it's
your parries are tied to your shotgun, but you always had like ammo for your gun. This is now tied to, if you mess up a parry and then you don't have any of that stamina to
you can't
pull off another you can't parry. Interesting.
No.
So the parries are essentially a reward for getting attacks landed anyway.
Yeah, so I haven't dabbled with it enough, but it is there, and it's interesting that it is tied to a meter. And then one last thing I want to touch on. Sorry, as I'm talking, I'm remembering things. The bosses are going to be interesting, and I'll tell you why. I'm just scrubbing to footage here of the boss, the one that you do fight in the demo. So it's weird. Remember in Bloodborne where if you took damage, you could attack to replenish a bit of health?
Yes.
This is like the opposite of that, for lack of a better description, where the boss doesn't recover health, but they have, as you do damage to them, they have a sort of a light bar, you'll see when the footage comes up, that replenishes if you're not attacking. Which,
interesting.
Which forces you to be aggressive.
Sort
constantly.
of like in a fighting game.
Yeah. So you have to keep the aggression up, because if you look here, you'll see there's a little light bar, and it's very slowly regenerating. Which,
so if you back off for long enough, he'll heal up to that level.
And it's funny because when I died a few times to this boss. When I realized that, I was like, oh. Because there are times when I did a lot of damage and I backed off, and then I looked at the health, I was like, but why is this guy's health so high? Like I thought I'd taken it away. So you can't be complacent here. You have to really keep up the aggression if you want to keep doing damage, because it looks like it's moving up slowly, but it makes a huge difference. And
that's interesting in combination with things that take time. Like you said, the weapon durability was an issue here, but I'm looking at your sword and it's halfway down already.
Yeah.
And it's like, so if you wanted to sharpen your blade middle of a boss fight, you have to trade off him healing a little bit to do that. Wow.
So there's definitely, fresh and different ideas here.
Yes.
I don't know what this will do for difficulty, because this boss, it took me a couple of attempts purely because of it. I wasn't aware of that. Like the moment I realized, oh my God, I have to be aggressive, it made like a world of difference. But, you know, the nature of bosses, sometimes you can't always be aggressive, especially if you're learning.
This guy looks quite hectic. I mean, his second phase now is very aggressive.
Second phase is quite something.
And they're very fast. They do like dashes towards you, even though this is quite a large enemy.
Yeah.
This looks really good.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it looks really fucking good.
It's good fun. I think if you, and it's on like all platforms. I think it's on PS5, Xbox, Series X and S, and PC. So if you want to give this game a bash, it's there. The demo, I think, is about 20 gigs. And it's definitely a really good taster of what the final game will be. I mean, I think, just speaking from what I touched here, it's going to be the typical thing of, you know, you start off sort of semi-linear, but there are going to be like huge open spaces that you can explore. And yeah, I think there's going to be lots of variation when it comes to builds and that sort of thing. So yeah, it looks and it feels good. And I'm hoping that, you know, that carries through to the final game.
I mean, we've been...
I love the splash screen.
Lie or die. Why? Wow. I mean, we've all been wanting a new Bloodborne for so long now. And, you know, it doesn't seem evident that From is going to do that anytime soon. So this is probably the next best thing. So, yeah, I'm super stoked. I really hope that the full game gives off the same impression that you've had on this demo, because I think you've been very positive on this demo, and just looking at it and watching it, I'm like, I need to give this a go. This looks really, really fun.
I mean, play it on your Steam Deck.
Could be the first Souls-like clone that is actually very good. I know a lot of people enjoyed like the Surge and stuff like that, but they never hooked me.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think it's mostly down to the setting. Like From Software settings are just so interesting, and this setting in Lies of P definitely tickles that side of my brain as well. Like it's just so weird, and
it's definitely leading into, you know, the story of Pinocchio, and because you immediately see like one of your guards is Jiminy.
The cricket.
Jiminy Cricket. But towards the end of the demo, so I haven't finished the demo. I've just beat this boss and stopped after. But the next step in the demo, they're like, oh, you need to go find Geppetto. And there's a lot of, you know, it's funny because the game's called Lies of P. There's clearly a theme of lying and like truth and deception, because one of the first things you do after the boss, you walk into a hotel and there's no context, but it's like you have to lie to get in. Like they very explicitly give you the option. You get to the hotel, they say, are you a human or a puppet? And you have to make a choice. And I'm like, I wonder, like, you know, how this will manifest throughout the game. If there are, and again, like From Software things where there are very specific quests or things that happen when you make certain decisions. And then to your point, the world is just very interesting. Like there's this whole thing of, I don't know, that a lot of the enemies you're fighting are puppets. I'm like, wow, what happened here? You know, what's going on? So yeah, I'm very, very interested to see how this game shapes up.
Good Father Geppetto is not going to be your pal. Put it that way.
I don't know. Maybe in the demo they're like, you need to go find Geppetto. So we'll see. Is he a good guy, bad guy? We'll see. But yeah, I enjoyed my time with the demo. It's just the taste I needed to keep me happy until I think it's September 20th or somewhere there in September. This game's launching.
Yeah, and it's out on Game Pass, which is super cool. So
really nice. Yeah.
Very, very nice to be able to play it day one without, you know, I guess not paying. You're still paying for your Game Pass subscription.
But it's a lot less.
Yeah, it's a lot less. So
yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that it's good. Like I was really, when they put out the demo, I was like, well, we're going to know very soon if people are like, this feels bad. Or,
well, have you seen any other sentiments? I haven't actually read.
I haven't really seen anyone talk about it, which is
Know,
interesting.
maybe Umar now coming up high on it, and everyone else is like, this is actual garbage.
I feel like you'd definitely see if people were down on it. Like there'd be threads being like, this feels terrible, or, So I don't know. Maybe people are ambivalent towards it. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.